Okay, so I bought a new computer. It's nothing world beating, but it is a step up from what I had previously. And of course, the first thing that you do is go and install some games. That's a worm from EVE Online, in case you're wondering. It's pretty meta PvP frigate at the moment. And what would be the first game that you would play on a new computer? Of course, it will be Farming Simulator 19. I've seen this before on the PlayStation Store, scrolled past it, looked at it, watched the video, and always wondered. I'll just shut up for the intro here so you can get in the mood for farming. Okay, there we go. How exciting is that? So, I've never played Farming Simulator before, and as if that's not hard enough, we're going to go for a little bit of an extra realism, an extra challenge. So, there are some additional rules that we're going to play by, and they are here. So, you must start with a default amount of money. More money can be borrowed up to your allowed limit, or $1 million. So depending on which mode you start in, you'll start with a different amount of money, and then as you accumulate assets, you can actually borrow more and more money. So we're going to put a cap on that, so we can loan up to whatever the bank will give us, and I'm going to make that net worth of $1 million, not a loan of $1 million, but cash plus loan of $1 million. You can't purchase, hire or workers with negative funds. No money cheat. There's some way to get unlimited money. Essentially, it's got something to do with starting a multiplayer game with multiple farms, but only having you in the game. And when you start the game, you can't have any sneaky crops in storage. No starting equipment, so we'll be choosing the start from scratch mode, where you start with nothing. Can't own any land. No teleporting. So in the initial game, you can just press one key to cycle between any of the equipment that you have, no matter where it is on the map, and you can click anywhere on the map to any of the shops, barns, animal storage, anything like that, and just be taken there instantly. So the Follow Me is a mod that normally comes out for other farming simulators, which you can get a worker to then jump in another piece of equipment and just tail along behind you, because what that prevents is, if you've got equipment all over the map, you need to drive something to the piece of equipment, jump in it, drive it home. You always have equipment outside the base. So I'm going to allow teleporting. I'm going to allow teleporting to the shop at the start of the save, but then any other time after that, you must drive a vehicle to get there. The game speed must be set at a minimum of 5 times, so you can run the game in real time. So 1 minute in real time equals 1 minute in the game. That obviously means you're going to get a lot of work done on any given time period. So they play it 5 times. So because I'm an absolute nerd and I can't do anything just for fun, I've got my little Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to calculate some stuff in here as we go along, try to work out what's the optimum thing to do. So 5 times game speed equals 4.5 hours real time per in-game day, which is 288 minutes. So 288 minutes at the keyboard. Go back to here. The live stream, that's not applicable to me. No field work after sunset, so you can't plough, cultivate, spray, weed, anything after the sun goes down. There's not really any parameters on that, so I fired up a test file, and the street lights come on at 8 p.m, so I'm going to call that night, and they go off at 7 a.m, so I'm going to call that the start of the working day. And I'm also going to add in a little extra realism thing where the poor old farmer actually needs to sleep at least 6 hours a day. So we'll just accelerate through that, or I believe you can put yourself to sleep if you've got a barn or something, but we'll see how that goes. So it's 72 minutes real time is the sleeping time. Night is from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m, where you can only do night or light duties. So that's 36 real time minutes of light duties. So you can't do any work in the field, but you can still exercise your animals, clean up after your animals, work around the yard, do transport contracts, because you can actually contract to other farmers, go to the shop, refuel, repair, all these sorts of little organisational duties, and then 180 minutes of full day available to do your farming. So it works out to be around 3.5 hours of keyboard time per real game day. If you see any of the people streaming, doing the reality challenge, their streams will normally last around 3 hours or so. So that's how it ties in with that. Just down here, I just worked out you can take a loan out from the bank in $5,000 increments. So I just let one run until midnight, and the interest was $42. So for every $5,000 loan, it charges you $42 of interest at midnight. So a couple of other things. No cultivating, seeding, spraying, fertilizer, lime, or weeding in the rain. So there is obviously weather conditions. You can still plough, and you can still do some forestry, and you can still do all the other things that you can do at night. Lime spreading is required. I've got it turned on in the game. You need to spread lime over your fields once every 3 harvests. Ploughing is required, and that can be done in the rain. So if it's raining, that's also something that can be done on contract for other farmers to try and keep a little bit of income coming in while you can't do anything else. Crop destruction is on, so that means if you drive a piece of equipment through a crop, the wrong piece of equipment, it destroys a part of it. You'll lose yield. If you drive a tractor through a field on stages 2 or 3 growth with wide tyres on it, you'll damage the crops. That's why you need a tractor with the slim tyres for the later stages of growth. So full stage fertilisation required, and each stage must be fertilised a different way. So you can fertilise twice in a growing cycle, and you can do it with liquid fertiliser, solid fertiliser, or manure, and I think there's another one as well. So this is saying that you need to do it twice, and it needs to be 2 different types of fertiliser. I assume that's just so that you don't just go and buy one piece of machinery and that just sees you through. But if you fertilise, you actually increase your yield. So I think it's if you fertilise once, you get plus 15%. If you fertilise twice, you get another plus 15%. Weeds must be enabled. So weeds will grow through crops randomly. They go through a couple of different growth phases as well. If you get them really early, you can just get a mechanical weeder, which you just drag through the field. It doesn't damage the crops, but gets rid of the weeds. If the weeds come in either in a later phase of your, say, wheat, or if you let them go and the weeds themselves get to a later phase, then you need to use a herbicide sprayer. So extra equipment, and obviously you need to pay to put the liquid herbicide in that one. So there's an additional cost there. No unrealistic mods. I'm not running any mods except for the map that I'm going to be playing, which is an official map that came out, I think, the first day this game released. I don't know why it wasn't included in the base game, but there are a few available, different machines and things, but I don't know why they've been added in, whether they fill a gap that's sort of in the machinery that's there, or if they've just been added in and they are going to make a whole bunch of other equipment redundant. So I don't want to do anything like that, so I'm just leaving it as it is. Seeds, fertilizer and lime must be purchased in bags, pallets and loaded manually. So I think on some of the maps you can just pull up 2 big NPC owned tanks or storage sort of silos and fill yourself up with seeds and fertilizer and lime. Again, I think that just means you just need one trailer and you can get everything you want. Whereas if you do it the manual way, A, it takes a bit more time, and B, you need to own a bit more variety of equipment, so I think that's why that's been left on. Animals must be transported to and from the market by trailer. They cannot be delivered to the farm. So when you buy animals, there's sheep, pigs, cows and horses. And when you buy them, you can opt to have them delivered to your farm, but I think the delivery fee is so negligible that if you use it, there's no reason to buy any of the animal transports. So I think that's why that's there as well. So that you end up with a bit more of a variety of equipment and a bit more manual labour involved as well. So I'm just going to start this up here. And we're going to go Korea. Save game 1. So there's 3 modes. New farmer, you actually start with a little bit of land, some buildings, some equipment, and I'm not even sure how much money, but it's quite a lot of money. Farm manager, you start with no land, no equipment, but you start with the $1.25 million, which is enough to give you a pretty good kickstart. Start from scratch, you start with 500,000. So it's obviously the hardest one. There is also a difference in what you sell your crops for between the game modes. So a crop that sells for 1,000 in New Farmer might sell for 750 in Farm Manager and 500 in Start from Scratch. So that makes it a bit more of a challenge as well. So there we go here, we're going to choose our map. So I'm going to do Estancia, Lapacho, which is a South American map. I believe it's in Brazil. I haven't seen anybody streaming this. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen the map before. So that'll be a pretty good challenge because I've seen a few streams of particularly Ravenport, which is the US map, so I kind of have a feeling for where people are choosing to locate their farms. All I know about this one is that there's over 30 fields, so that's all I know. So let's go. Alright, okay. There have been a few complaints that all the farmers look a little bit too millennial. And can they please get some grumpy old men in there? So I think this is a character that I was just from the one that I mucked around in, so we'll just keep that. There's not much point mucking around with it. And let's start. Here we go. I haven't loaded this map yet, so who knows how long it's going to take. So I think the maps generally tend to drop you into a corner where they think it would be a really good place for you to start your farm. But who knows if that's actually the best place to start, and I'm a little bit too nerdy for that. when you look at the map and you look for fields to buy, it gives you a price, but it doesn't actually give you a size, which is, I think, a bit of an oversight on Giant Software's part. I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but you can eventually find out how many acres the fields are, because if you look at the contract screen, if you get a contract to say field 15 and it wants you to harvest, it will tell you at that point how many acres it is. So back over here, I've just got the field numbers, how much they cost. I'll be able to plug them in straight away, and then we'll try and monitor the contact screen just to try and fill in the size in acres of the fields, and then we'll be able to work out a cost per acre to try and sort of see which ones might be worth farming, if there's any that are particularly cheap. And then you can also look at how flat are they, do you have room to expand, is there trees on it, because you can log, forestry is a part of the game, so you can chop down trees and sell the logs, so that's an extra income. How close are they to the shop, to regular drop-off points like the barns and things where you want to sell your product, so those things come into it as well. But I'd like to at least on day one get this done, so at least I don't think I'm going to buy a field on the first day, but at least get an idea of where we might like to make home base. So let's start her up. Here we go. We recommend you do the first 2 tutorials. I have actually done all the tutorials because, like I say, I'm completely new to Farming Simulator, so that's all good. This is pretty cool. So it's just AWSD to move around. I can see a part of a farm over there. Looks like a bit of an estate. A plane over there. You can't third person the camera. There you go. So the first thing we're going to do now, time does run while the menu's up. So while you are messing around, you are still losing daylight, so to speak. But if you straight up want to oh, there you go. You can straight up pause the game if you want to. Let's just make sure all the settings are correct. Save game, doesn't matter. Time scale, traffic's on, so there are cars around. Your vehicles do have a maintenance meter, so that will deteriorate naturally where you need to go and repair, but also if you clatter into things, the maintenance bar will actually take a spike as well, and once the maintenance bar starts to move on a bit, you'll notice machines start to lose horsepower, they start to lose top speed. Things like harvesters and that might start to leave a gap where they're not harvesting properly. So it's good to keep on top of the maintenance. Dirt, normal, fast, off, slow, normal seems fine. Automatic engine start, yes. Stop and go braking. Keep the brake button held to brake and automatically start reversing once you come to a standstill. I don't think that will be a good idea. Fuel usage, low, default. Let's go default. No, we don't want the helper to do. They were off by default on the other maps. I wonder why they're on by default on this map. Is it something specific to the map? Don't know. We'll have a look after. First, plant growth on slow. Plant withering on. So what plant withering is, your crops go from through growth phases. They've just been planted, they're growing, and then they're ready for harvest. And then they've got a couple of phases of ready to harvest where you need to obviously do that harvesting, and if they go beyond that, if you just leave the field there, then the crops die, they wither and die, so you lose all your income from that. So that's obviously something that you want to avoid. Crop destruction on, like I said, if you drive through a crop, you will reduce your yield, periodic ploughing, whether or not you need to plough your fields, yes. Lime required, yes. Weeds on, autosave, don't really care about that. Help window on, dollars, kilometers, acres. Those volumes. Just drop them down a little bit, see how that goes. It's kind of annoying that it hasn't saved the previous settings actually. Anyway. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is I'm going to bring up X for lands. And now this is all the things you can buy. So obviously you've got fields here. Why do I only have $100,000? It should be $500,000 unless this particular map is different because the prices are low. Prices 286, 384, 420. $111, 400. Interesting. Why would that be? In the other maps at 500k, even on starting fresh, you could still afford to buy a couple of small fields if that's what you really wanted to. I'm not seeing any fields that you could buy with your starting balance here. That seems like an error. That seems like an error. Let me check. Alright, so literally, game's just paused for a sec. Literally, all I did was start a brand new save game, all the exact same settings, and now, oops, it's showing $500,000. So, no idea what happened there. Don't think you'd be getting too far with just $100,000. So back to what I was saying previously, I'm going to bring up the map. First thing I'm going to do is at least get down how much all the fields cost. And just going to have a little bit of a look around. Storage, silo, spinnery, that's where you sell cotton obviously, bakery, maybe a wheat sell point, harbour. We're going to be a gas station, that's where you're going to fuel up. If you don't end up with a fuel pump on your own farm. Animal dealer, barn, that's a sell point. Silo, that's a sell point. Biogas plant, that's a sell point for various different things. Lime station. So I think that's one of those ones where you can just go and fill yourself up with lime. But we're not going to use that because of the rules we're playing by. Transport company. Sawmill, I'm going to assume that's where you're going to sell timber. Shop, that's where you buy all your machinery. It's a pretty sort of compact sort of a map. Everything's looks like it's not too far from each other. Obviously there's no distance scale. But it looks interesting. So, soon press X for lands, and now we can bring up the cost for all these fields. So, I am just going to do all these fields and put all the prices in, and then I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So, and we got that done. So, here we are. Cost of the fields is 31 fields, ranging from 834,000 for the most expensive that's actually got a field on it, down to 111. The cheapest ones are sort of 4, 5, 6. No, I tell a lie. 4, 11, 25. These ones 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so let's have a bit of a look at that. So 2, 3, 4, 5, that's them there. And you're just getting field. So if you want to place any buildings or anything, you're actually going to have to take up field space. That's why those ones are a bit cheaper. This one over here is cheap as well, 111,000. I think that's the cheapest one. But to buy up any of the land around it, see that's 900. You can actually buy the land that doesn't have any fields on it. And obviously you can plough your own fields and stuff. So like that big patch there is 905. This big patch here in the middle, 1.7 million for that big patch there. But I mean, you're going to be able to put a lot of fields on that. All these trees here you're going to be able to take out and sell some of it. And this area here is sort of a pretty decent area because you've got a silo to sell there, the animal dealer, a barn to sell, the gas station's there. What's that down there? Sugar mill down, I think that's for sugar cane. The only problem is the shop's all the way over here. But this particular map, the roads just seem to be pretty long, pretty straight. Not too hilly and windy, which some of the other maps are, which will be interesting. Whereas some other block, I think 11 wasn't too bad. 11, yeah, 188 for 11. So you're getting what looks like a small field and a bit of land that you can maybe extend that field out, or you can put some sheds, some infrastructure on there. So maybe something like that's something to consider as well. So it's not just the size of the acreage of the field that you're getting, it's also some of the other things around it as well. And while I was here, I did actually manage to, if we go here to contracts, these are the contracting jobs that are currently available, and it just happens to have 17, 21 and 8. And when you get to the contract job, it does actually give you the area of the field at least down here. So on the spreadsheet, I was able to field 8, field 17, field 21. I was able to put in the measurements and distill that down to a cost per acre, which might help to identify some good buyers. So 31,323 per acre for 8, 42,704 for 17, 33,393 for 21. So that you can already see there's a bit of a disparity there. Let's see if we can figure out why 17 might be so much more than 8. 17 is here, so it's a pretty good location, straight. You're getting maybe a little bit of extra land at the back you could expand into. Field 8 is, yeah, literally just a field, so that's probably why you have the price difference. Sorry. We can do this here, and that'll tell you what's currently growing on the fields. So color coded here, field 17 that we're looking at, for example, has currently got soybeans on it. Field 8 that we were looking at, what does that look like? Does that look like corn? Maybe corn. If we go across the filter here, you can actually tell what stage the fields are in currently. So blue is cultivated, I can't see any blue currently. These various shades of green mean they're currently growing crops. These shades of yellow and orange are the stages of ready to harvest, and then with withering on, if it gets past this dark orange stage here, like say field 23, field 17, if they were allowed to keep going without being harvested, they would actually wither and die. They would go brown. So we can see field 24, field 10, 26, 28, all currently withered. So something that might actually be something to consider when it comes time to possibly purchase a field is to actually purchase it once it's in a ready to harvest stage, because that means when you take over the land instantly as soon as you pay for it, and that will mean there's actually a crop ready to be harvested off, which can then be sold to maybe recoup a little bit of the money. We would have to lease the equipment, obviously, because I'm not going to go out straight away and buy harvesters and things, but you can lease the equipment, so for a lesser fee, and you would hope that the lease cost would come out being less than what you would sell the crop for, and you'd end up getting, I'd imagine, a small bit, but at least some of the thing back.
How's your big computer go?
As my daughter comes in to check how my new big computer is, for the record, it is good. So that's what we've got to think about in terms of possibly picking up a field at some point. You can check the soil as well. Obviously this is more important when it's your own fields. This will quickly tell you if anything needs weeding, lime, ploughing, and whether it's been fertilised to add yield. And obviously with our rule set, we need to do both those fertilisers. So pretty much you cultivate, I would think you cultivate, do the first fertilise, and then plant, and then do the second fertilise, and then you're done with it. So I'll back out of here, because all this information gathering does cost time. I think we don't quite get a full day the first day. It started at 8 AM, and while I've been sort of messing around with all that, it's now 10:30 in the morning. So we need to go for a bit of a tour around the map. We need to go and have a little bit of a look. So we're also going to keep our eye on contracts just periodically to see which new ones pop up that we can grab the acreage for. And then this is, if you don't want to buy a field straight away, this is how you can go about earning a bit of money in the early days. Other farmers will pay you to do the work. So let's just take this field 17, it's a harvesting job. You're going to pay $4,948. If you don't have any equipment, like I don't currently, you can lease all the equipment you need from the farmer or from the shop, I guess, but and that would just reduce the payout by $1,319. So lease the equipment, you're going to get about $3,600 for that job. So on the spreadsheet, because I am the super nerd, I'm just going to keep a jobs log just to say, it was a harvesting, it was 8 acres, the payout was 4,000 minus 1,300 for the lease, say, and it took 30 minutes at the keyboard or something like that, just to try and get an idea of what are the really premium contracting jobs to be doing, to snap those up before they disappear. And you can also be able to weigh which contracting jobs are worth doing over jobs on your own farm, or which contracting jobs you need to prioritize your own farm over the top of. So what we're going to do, we need something to cruise around in. So let's go to the shop. We're going to go to the shop. Teleporting we're going to use just because for this initial go to the shop, and then after that we'll drive from here. Now I have no idea. Here we go. Here's the interact point. I'm going to open up the shop, and here's all the various categories of things you can buy, all the different tractors, harvesters, mowers, just everything you can get into in this game. That's as far as the vehicles go. Then you've got all your various trailers, your machinery, weeders, mowers, manure spreaders, animal transporters, forks and things that you can attach, weights that you put on the front if you're pulling something heavy on the back to level it out so it doesn't dig in. Heaps of, probably too many options there. I really don't know what a whole bunch of them do. Then we've got bags of fertilizers and things like that, which we all need to be using. And then you've got placeables. So you've got your animal pens for housing animals. That's just decorating. You've got silos. So, if you harvest a field and you don't have any storage, you need to take that somewhere to sell it straight away. Otherwise, it'll start to degrade. If you've got your own silo on your property, then you can store it in a silo and you can wait for a more favourable price. Actually, that's something I'll have a look at quickly. Here. So this is all the different crops, all the different things that you can grow and acquire, and then there's different selling points. So bakery, barn, harbour, sawmill, spinnery, sugar mill, transport company, and they'll all buy different products and they'll pay different prices for them. So if we look at, say, it doesn't give a very good description of what that is. I think it's wheat. You're going to get $229 at the bakery, $324 at the transport company, $365 at the harbour. So obviously you would transport it to the harbour, and it will give you a trending icon if they're going up and down. And you can also get there is an amount that they will buy. So if you say tick one load off, you might get 778 for sunflowers, but then if you come back with the next trailer, because you've met that demand a bit, you might only get 758, 738, 708, something like that. But you can get events where something will have a great demand, and you'll get a slightly inflated price, but they will take an unlimited amount at that price. So that's why you need to establish, the price that makes it worthwhile for you to be selling your crops. If you can't find anybody at harvest time willing to pay that, you throw it into a silo. You monitor the prices periodically, especially if you see someone on the uptick, or you hold out and hope for a great demand, and then just liquidate all of your stock at that high price, because the price won't work its way down for every trailer that you deliver. And a lot of these you don't have to sell as well. They can be used for further things. They can be used to feed animals or animal bedding, baling. Obviously some of these are produced by your animals, eggs, manure, wool, things like that. So it's not just a straight grow, sell to the highest price. There can be a little bit of intricacies on how much you should sell to stay liquid, how much you should hang on to a better price, how much you should use for yourself instead of having to buy from the store. So I'll go back out here. Where's my point gone? Here he is. So just while we're doing a recce, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do for a little bit of a drive around. Just have a look at the terrain, because the map tells you the field sizes and stuff, but you're not going to get a look at the terrain, because some other things to consider are, do you have room to turn your equipment around at the end of the field, or is there a great big hill? Because that takes some extra manoeuvring, which costs you extra time. Is there extra room for you to plough out to? And things like that. Generally, if is there a slope on the actual fields, because some equipment won't pull uphill. So if you look at, say, let's just say a plough, everything's got a requirement for what's needed to pull it. So it needs 63 kilowatts, 85 horsepower to comfortably pull that plough. So if you went back here, that's got 110, 150, so it can pull it, no worries. But then if you're pulling uphill, it's an additional requirement. So if you're very tight on kilowatts or horsepower with a piece of equipment, having flat fields is going to be an advantage for you. So we'll just go back here. We're just going to buy a pickup truck. They use the brand Lizard because obviously they don't have the rights to any manufacturers. And these, obviously these can't do field work, but they are still pretty handy. They can go 120 kilometers an hour, which I'll set the cruise control at 55 because there are speed signs around, so we want to be a bit realistic, and because I can't steer for buggery anyway. So, but what's interesting about these is, let's just take this one here, 221 kilowatts, 300 horsepower. If you go back to even the medium tractors, for instead of $45,000 for a pickup, you are looking at, you're looking at large tractor territory. Yeah, so you're looking at over 200,000 in the equivalent tractor. So they are still pretty handy to have for pulling horse floats, trailers, stuff like that. In theory, you can drop the rear tailgate and fork a single pallet into the back. So I think we'll go for 147, 200, 221, 300. Yeah, let's just go for the big one. Let's get started on the right foot. And here's where you can either lease or buy. So the lease, you pay $900 base, $2,250 for every day you use it, and then $450 a day. And then you get a lease price, or you can just buy it outright. So that's something to consider there. Just rotate this. We'll choose a colour here. Main colour. What do we got? All right, a pretty good selection. Bright pink, probably not. Let's go black, because that's what you want in the hot Brazilian sun. All black machinery. Alright, take a break for a sec. As I get interrupted by the lovely wife, I really need to remember to pause if I'm going to have to step away like that, because the clock is ticking. So it's $1,000 for black. Let's go for as much black equipment as we can, for no other reason than we can. Design color, what does that do? Okay, well, for $100, let's go black on black. Yes, yes, we have arrived in Brazil on a mission. I assume it's Brazil. I think it's Brazil. I don't 100% know. So we haven't started off our realism challenge very well by being thrifty with our money, but there's an additional $1,100. We can fetch it at the store. All right. So minus 46,100 for the new vehicle. Where do they arrive? There we go. There we go. Start the engine first. I thought that was on. Okay. So I'm just going to set the cruise control speed to 55. It's fairly realistic. I think there are signs around that say 35, but that doesn't change between miles and kilometers. So I'm going to do 55 kilometers. Don't really have to worry about it with your tractors and stuff, because they don't generally get up that high. Looks like this is a right hand side of the road map, so must be careful of that. And just down near the speedo you'll see the wrench. That's your maintenance gauge, and obviously a fuel gauge. It's self-explanatory. So let's bring up the map. And we are at the shop. I'll bring up the bigger map. We are at the shop. So let's just do a bit of a loop and have a look around. Let's go this way, down to the bottom, through what looks like houses on the bottom here. Go a bit of a dirt track and then up. And then we'll go for a bit of a drive through these, because these are the, sort of the cheaper area in here. Get a bit of a lay of the land. Alright, let's do it. Make sure there's no one there as we pull out. 3 to set the cruise control. I'm totally going to overtake you, sir. There are trains which you can hit. There's also a way to indicate, but I don't know what the hockey is, so. It all looks pretty flat. I will give it that. I think that's over towards field 25, over the other side of that water there, I think. Which was that tiny cheap field, but you couldn't really buy anything else around it. Interesting. I kind of want to turn right here, so we go through this. Looks like there's a little big bridge. That's the edge of the map though. Interesting. Beep beep. I'm not on cruise control either, so we'll speed up hideously. Totally breaking the law. It's fine, it's fine. So this is like a bit of a town part. That's where the bakery is. If you have to sell to the bakery or possibly deliver to the bakery at some point. Oh yeah, left hand side of the road. Don't need to wait for him. Right hand side of the road. Sorry, my bad. Oh, didn't mean to go this way. Anyway. Oh, on the curb, on the curb. Probably, steering's a bit titchy. Let's go zoom out a bit. There we go. So I need to go this way. Not a massive fan of how much the engine noise drops. Oops, right hand side of the road. When you zoom this far out. So yeah, this is all pretty flat. Oops, cruise control please. It's interesting, it's quite different from particularly the US map, which is really windy, sort of tree-lined streets. This seems to be a lot flatter, a lot more open expanse, which I think is probably better for the farming, but makes the terrain, I would say, a little bit less interesting. But we shall see. Alright, coming up here on the left, what's that? Railroad silo, animal dealer, and the gas station. Okay. Good to know. Yeah, see that's all. Oh, there's a bit of a ridge there. It's all pretty flat. So we're going to go off the dirt a bit up this way. These are all, yeah, see, it's just flat, isn't it? Bump, bump. Whoa. So this is the biogas plant. Oh, wasn't watching. Maintenance meter didn't move. You would think that probably should have. Try not to drive down the middle of any fields, that'd be a bit naughty. Side of field 20, they're supposed to, oh yeah. Oh, that's the railroad track that I was looking at. Alright, we'll drive on the railroad track then. What could possibly go wrong? I'm hoping the train at least toots. Whoa, that's a big cliff. Alright. Interesting. Wow, I really need to get off this. Oh, is that a track there? Wow. Good thing we bought a pickup. Alright. Let's just crunch again. So this is a transport company. I think this is just purely the pick up and drop off point for transport contracts. That would be my guess. Where is the road in? Just gently. That's where that hazard line, if you see them anywhere, they're an interaction point. So it's either where you pick something up or you drop something off. Wow, this is riveting video. Is it down over there? It looked like a bridge. Wow, not good. Let us not do this again. I'm guessing, oh, cruise control please, otherwise it's going to be a big crash at the end. Oh, stupid little pole. Man, I cannot believe the maintenance bar has not moved. Alright, so it wasn't a big hill at the bottom. So for reference, that skinny blackish greyish line is the railway track, not a road. Alright, so we've had a little bit of a look around the map. It's very flat. I think the fields that we buy are just going to be based on how cost effective they are, how convenient they are to sell points and stuff. I don't really think there's going to be too much to worry about in the ways of hills and any sort of terrain problems. So just going to have a quick look at these sort of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on the right hand side that's 5, just soil looks like at the moment. Right hand side that's 4, small crops. So, yeah, so they're really just small fields, that's why they're so cheap. They're all together, but there's not really anywhere to place any sheds or any animal pens or maintenance bay, anything like that, unless you actually want to start taking up proper field space, which is not ideal. So yep, that's why those ones are cheap. I don't think this will be the best place to start. Dollars wise, it might say so. Over time, maybe, once we get all the acreage sizes, but for me, I think this might be a section you just pick up all together when you've got a big whack of cash. just purely for crop growing and have home base somewhere else. Just heard a train horn. Train's around somewhere. Right, I'm just going to quickly check the contracts. Autosave. Alright, we've got some extra fields. Cool. So I've got things to do with the family. I'm going to stop the recording. I will put these extra field sizes in with the time still running. I mean, it's already after lunchtime. It's already 12:44 in the afternoon, so you can see how sort of time goes by. We would have to stop working at 8 p.m. So I'm going to chuck these extra things in onto the spreadsheet. We'll have a look at that next time I record. I'm going to go and look at some Christmas lights with the family. That'll be fun. And then we will actually look at some of the contract jobs, and we'll start using some equipment on lease and start building that bank account up a little bit while we think about where we might like to set home base up. Field 11 is sort of the one that I'm thinking currently, but we'll see how it stacks up dollar per acre wise. Alright, I'll see you next time I'm recording. Alright, back to it. So it's actually Sunday now, before I've gotten a chance to get back to this, but yesterday I did manage to add in those extra contracts into the spreadsheet, and while I was doing that, even further ones popped up. So we do have some extra data here. We've got field 3, 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 21, 28, 30. And we've been able to distill with their sizes, been able to distill that down to now $1 per acre. And you can see around 30,000 seems to be a pretty standard sort of a price. And then there are a few outliers from that. So field 3, only 27,000 per acre. But we know from the map that that's just a field. There's really no extra space. A couple that came in a bit more expensive was field 12 at 88,000 and field 14 at 53,000. So field 12 is up the top here. So it's got quite a bit of extra land, but 88,000 acres still seems quite expensive for that. And what was the other one? Field 14 was a little bit more expensive. So that's here. It's also got a little bit of extra land. Don't know that it justifies the extra price. But the one real outlier was field 28, which is $342,000 per acre. It's only a 1.2 acre field. So it's a really small field, but that's this one over here. And the reason why is very small field, just the field here, but all this additional land. But just because of the shape of it, the location of it, it's going to be hard to get maximum value out. I mean, you could extend this field out here, maybe put another small field down the bottom, and then plant, pine trees all up through here, which don't need to be planted in a field. They can just be planted anywhere. But yeah, that one doesn't seem terribly good value either. So we've been able to get that extra information. And now what we're going to try and do for the rest of the day, day one, is actually pick up some contracting work and actually earn some money, because I think it was 12:44 end of the last video. It's now 1:31, so nearly an hour's elapsed while I've just been information gathering there, and I don't mind that. It should cost you some of your playtime to try and learn the game. So autosave. Let's have a look at the contracts. So transporting contracts are purely to deliver from one place to the other. The problem with that is they're going to be on pallets. So while we can take a pallet in the back of the pickup, we don't have anything with forks to actually pick the pallet up to load it. So as it stands now, we're going to have to avoid those for a little while. So there's transporting there. Don't seem to pay a lot. $382, $424. Really not a lot of money, but I mean, if they only take you a couple of minutes to do, then maybe that makes them worthwhile. It's also something that we can do after dark, so after 8 p.m. we're still able to do transporting contracts, so it's a tiny little bit of additional income there, possibly. So we've got harvesting, and we don't have any equipment obviously, so we're going to have to lease the equipment to do the job. So for example, $7,659, take away the lease cost, will leave us with about $5,600 out of that one. So there's 4 pieces of equipment. That's what they're going to give you: the harvester, the header, and then obviously the semi and the trailer, because you need to harvest the oats in field 13 and then take them to the harbour. So you need to harvest, then transport. A smaller harvesting job, it's only 3 acres, making about $1,600. Fertilising, so you just need to hook the fertiliser obviously up to the tractor, but I think you need to buy the fertiliser to fill it, so that's an additional cost on top, I believe. So there's a few different fertilising jobs. Another harvesting and baling job. Well, that's a lot of equipment. 3 here plus another 4. So you're going to mow the grass, then bale it, and then wrap it into silane bales, and then transport it. That seems like that's probably going to take a long time. You can also get weeding. Doesn't seem to be any here. So let's just go with a harvesting job. So that's 4 pieces of it. Big field. Field 13, big field, 7,600, 6,700. Oh, it's got different equipment. That one's got the John Deere, and then some additional transport equipment, obviously. And that one's just got the. Let's just do this one, I think. For Kenneth Fletcher, owner of Field 13, we're going to harvest the oat, transport it to the harbour. So we're going to lease the items because obviously we don't own the equipment. It's going to just take it out of the reward. Progress. Now there's no time limit now, I'm led to believe. There was in Farming Simulator 17 as far as I know, but there's now no time limit, but you can only take 1 contract at a time. So I don't know whether the equipment is now going to be at field 13 or whether it's going to be at the shop. So field 13 is over to our right, the shop's around to our left, so let's head to the shop and see if it's there. If not, we will head to field 13. Enable the cruise control. There's the shop over there to the left. Where's my map? There we go. Driving on the right hand side of the road is a bit of a challenge. The flashing green circle on the map is the harbour. That's where we need to deliver it to after we've harvested it. So that's just giving us that indicator. Mouse to look for traffic. Off we go to the shop to see if our leased equipment is there. Cruise control. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Okay. Alright, I can see a truck trailer and a harvester, so that's where our gear is. So we're going to drive here and pick it up. We'll take one piece of equipment to the field and then we will teleport back because, as I said before, otherwise you're going to end up with gear spread all over the place. You'll never be able to keep it in one spot. So we'll just, oh, don't crash. Alright, I'm just going to park ourselves here and we'll grab the harvester first. New Holland CR 1090. That's pretty cool because we get to try out a bit of additional equipment as well, which we might not have had access to before. Is that truck going to be blocking the header? I think it is, so let's take the truck first instead. Alright. It's a Tatra Phoenix or Tatra Phoenix, I'm not sure. Alright, I'm going to start the engine now. I don't think we'll need to worry about the cruise control on this because I doubt this is going to get to 55. I'm going to test out my reversing skills, which are horrible. And we're going to attach it. Q. And there we are. We're loaded up. So I'm going to just try and keep a little bit of a time note of this, just because I'm a nerd. So 2:09 PM local time is when we started the job. I just want to see how much profit we make at the end of it, how much time it takes, just so that we can get a bit of a baseline on what contracts and things are worthwhile pursuing, or which ones we should attempt to do first, which ones should be prioritised over doing work on your own field, if any, and which ones should be avoided because they're more trouble than they're worth. I know. So we are well and truly over. There's no cruise control set in this. That's why. Put the cruise control down to 55. Down like that, and then we will. Now it's on cruise control. Cool. Alright, field 13. Looks like we're going to take. Brake. Take the dirt track. Oh, I need to take a wider turn there, didn't I? Whoops. Sorry. Alright. Need to get used to the driving. Down this way. Where was it? All the way up here and then to the left. This is that ranch sort of building that we started at. Field 1 actually includes that for sale. I don't really know what else you can do with it, but it definitely comes for sale with field number 1. Crop destruction's on, but I don't believe you can damage any crops that you don't own. So while we don't want to go driving through other people's fields, it's not going to be the end of the world. There goes the train. Alright, so we're just going to park this over here on the edge for now. I'm going to take the cover off and take the cover off, because what we're going to do is we're going to drive along in the harvester, fill the harvester up. Once that's full, we're going to jump out and jump into the truck, drive along beside the harvester and then unload it. If you, not the train, not that, here we go. If you are playing multiplayer, or if you want to hire a worker, you could technically just drive along beside the harvester and just have it with the pipe open and just going straight into the truck as you go. But just playing single player as I am right now. That's not really an option. There we go. Attach him up. We want to lower that down for transport. Oh, that's spinning its wheels. Pretty big piece of kit. Why is that spinning its wheels? What do we want to do? Unfold the header? No. Lift the header? Maybe it's down too far. No. Lift it. Maybe that's how it transports. Okay. Silly person. You transport it with the head up. Learn something new every day. This is going to go fun on the road. Sorry. Sorry. Top speed 40 kilometers an hour, so don't need to worry about the cruise control on this one. You can see H to hire a worker, so you can put employees into, or there's a tree there, that's not good. You can put employees into equipment once they're on a field. You do pay them a wage as they work, but obviously it allows you to achieve more if it's just you playing. So what I'm going to do, there's a fence, goodness me, and all of the people that live in Brazil apparently on this road right now. So I'm just going to wait for these cars to go past. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hire an employee, just hire him and fire him once it's on the field, just to see what the pay rate is for employees. Then I'll just make a note of that. Just a little bit more information gathering. Alright, one more car. Things to do, people. I wonder if it'll go over the fence. Only one way to find out. Yep, sort of. Bump, bump. I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to drive through the field. Oh dear. Don't get hung up. Don't get hung up. Don't get hung up. Wow. Alright, so transporting from the shop, we might. What is that swing arm doing? I don't think that's me. Let's just go through here. That's weird, I've never seen that before. I mean, technically it could have been me, but I think it was doing that from the start, wasn't it? Maintenance meter's not showing that it's all banged up. So a couple of things that I want to take note of that I need to remember. I want to see how much the employee costs. I want to see how much time this takes us. I want to see how much products in units we harvest from this field, just to try and get an idea of sort of how many units per acre per crop you can expect, just to do that math. So that's some of the things I want to take note of, and I'm sure there's other things that I'm forgetting. Alright, let's go. Lower the header. Unfold the header. Does that need to be unfolded? Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that. Maybe that's why it was hanging down. Dumbass. Alright, let's go. Is that lowered? Doesn't look very lowered. Oh no, there we go. It was stuck on a branch. Alright. Back up. And we're going to turn on the harvester. So down. I did unfold the harvester. B. You need to unfold the harvester. X. And now turn on. We first need to fold up the header. I know what's going on. Hang on. So I need to unfold the header, because there's two different tools here. There's the header and the harvester. So G to change tools, I think. So That's the harvester. So I need to unfold the harvester itself. So you see the top opening up. And our G, the header is unfolded as well. So now I'm going to turn on the harvester and we should be away. Yeah, because there's two separate tools there. There's the harvester itself and the header. So they both needed to be unfolded, and there we go. We're away, we're harvesting. Now you can just leave it in a row behind you like that. I think that's called a harrow or a furrow. I think a harrow is above ground. And then you can come along with a baling machine and turn that into bales. But we're not going to do that ourselves, or disable the straw swath. Or you can just do it like that, where it just like spreads it back out into the field. I don't believe it gives any advantage, for the yield of your next crop, but just graphically it doesn't leave those. And the piles actually do cause machinery to sort of bog down a bit. So if you don't intend to actually come along and bale it up afterwards, then you're probably better off on this setting. We don't want too much overrun, that's going to waste time. So you can see the units counting up in the bottom corner, up to 1600 units, going at about 10 kilometres an hour. So it's a pretty big field. It's going to take some time. So I'm just going to go all the way around the edge. I am not great with doing things in a systemised, ordered pattern. Just ask my wife when I mow the lawn. I'm better now, but I used to go across the middle, then up the side, then diagonally across, just dividing it up into dumb shapes. Not a very economical way of doing it, but it's just the way my brain works, or doesn't work, depending on which way you want to think about it. Alright, get to the end here, just going to lift the header up. Looks pretty cool though. The difference in the sort of the graphic of the crop once you've done work to it is quite good. You really get that sense of where you've been and what you've done. I do like that. So you can see the contour in the field. It definitely has got a hill in it. Wow, that's a pretty big field. Anyway. Turn the cruise control on so I don't have to press up. Hey, why did it get stuck? Activate cruise control. 3. I know, you can't be moving when you do it. There you go. Alright, so 6% progress on it, on harvesting the oats. So 6%. One thing that can happen with harvesting, I think, is that you don't need to harvest the entire field to get the 100%, which I believe if you, as soon as it gets to 100%, you deliver it, and then you can come, before you finish the contract, so click finish, you can come back and finish using the other farmer's equipment to harvest the remainder of the field. Then you can go and sell that yourself, so for a little bit of additional income. So that's what I'm going for today, a little bit of additional income just to finish off. I mean, it's 3 o'clock now. The reason why it's giving me that message is because it's leased equipment, so it doesn't want me just taking a lease contract and going and doing my own fields. So that's why you get that message when you try to leave the field. Turn the cruise control back on. So yeah, today, just like to, we spent 46,100 on the pickup. It'd be nice to get, I was thinking it'd be nice to get 10 grand in by the end of the day, but I'm not sure we're going to get the 10 grand in, but we'll see. So there's no time limit on contracts. I think I already said that. There was in previous versions, which means technically, because we have to get off the fields at 8 PM because of our because of our realism settings, but you won't fail the contract or anything if you have to come back and do it tomorrow. So that's okay. Getting around to having done one full lap, and I might just stop and jump in the truck and just unload when we get around there, because it's not going to do another lap, I don't think. So every lap I'll just unload it. Once the truck's full, obviously run it down to the harbour. And I will get a worker to jump in a sec. One thing with the AO workers that's sort of considered a best practice is to do 1 or 2 runs yourself around the perimeter of the field, so that then when you hire the worker, they just start doing the interior, and they've got very clearly defined borders of where they need to work. I mean, being AI, sometimes it can get stuck up on things, so yeah, it's just I think it's considered a best practice just to like do this, run around the edges, and then in theory now, really, I could, if I wanted to do something else, I could put an AI worker in, and they'd be fine. They'd just they wouldn't get stuck on anything. They just harvest that down fine. So I'm just going to turn the harvester off, change the tool. No, so it's stopped. That's cool. Alright, I'm going to jump out. Where possible, we're just going to run between vehicles just for a little bit of extra. Actually, I know what I need to do before I do that. I need to jump back in, and I need to put the pipe out. So the pipe, that's no good. I need to come around the other way. Nope. I don't want to do that. Change. Fold the header, lift the header, lift the header. Alright, so I might as well just drive to the truck, if that's the way it's going to be. See, it does sort of rock a bit. It does get stuck. Oh no, we're losing some. There you go, it turns on automatically. So you can see the units counting down. I don't think you do actually get overage. I think graphically it looks like it, but it won't actually start until it's in the right spot, and at auto levels, so you don't need to move it up and down the truck, so to speak. So I just want to quickly just change here, and that's got 9,000 in it. Looks like it's going to hold about 60,000, so about 6 loads like that. So that's cool. Not the train, not my pickup. Alright, put the pipe in. And we're away. Away. Learn to reverse in updy. Drop the header back down. We're away. So this is how you go about it before you take the plunge into buying your own fields, I guess. I mean, it's not how everybody does it, for sure. A lot of people, max out their bank loans, or they play on the other game modes where you start with a lot more cash, and they just jump straight in, buy their tractors, buy their harvesters, sheds, animals, whatever, and they just go like that from the start. It's obviously just about the fun factor, and other save games. I'll wait a second, stuck. Other save games I can just, why is that spinning? stuck on a lumpy bit of ground apparently. Yeah, other save games, just take it all on and get the farm big early, but for this one it's supposed to be realistic, so we'll just try and give the bank balance a bit of a boost, information gather as much as we can so that we try and make some informed decisions, because it's not just about buying the field. Once you've got a field, you really need to be starting to think about your equipment, placeables like sheds and things. You're going to need to buy your seeds and cultivators and weeders and all these various bits and pieces. So it's more than just the cost of the field. You know, some of those fields there are $100,000 range, so you can clearly afford it, but I would imagine when it comes to it, you can probably add another $100,000 worth of gear to it at least. So we'll take that plunge when the time is right. But this is what you can do in the meantime, like I say, to get used to some of the equipment, get used to some of the controls, earn a little bit of cash. Because with the leased equipment, yes, you are going to get a lower reward, but at least you haven't had a huge outlay. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of income per day is sort of possible just on contract work with leased equipment. See what pays out the best. If you can get, you know, better with the equipment, you're going to get more efficient. Is it worth putting a worker in? Stuff like that. I will do the worker shortly. I haven't forgotten. Put the cruise on. So this is field 13. Field 13 is 12.62 acres. So I'm just interested to see how many units of barley you get out of 12.62 acres. Because then obviously if you can then look at a price, yes, the harvest is still going in the background. If you can then look at a price for barley, which is this one, how many units are you going to get? What are you going to get per unit? Well, I think it's per 1,000 litres actually, but whatever. You'll be able to work out what you can expect to get out of a crop, and then you'll know sort of whether that crop's worthwhile or not. There is a Reddit post somewhere, I think, where someone's done a really detailed breakdown of you know, which crops generate which profit and which ones are worthwhile. I'm avoiding that like the plague. I'm not interested in, you know, having that information handed to me on a platter. I love stats and I love data and things, but I want to sort of collect that myself, as opposed to just, I hope the game's reasonably balanced where, you know, there's multiple ways to go about it. It would be terrible if the min-maxers got their hands on it and figured out that there was just, you know, one way to set up a farm that was clearly, whoops, missed a tiny bit, that was just clearly better than everything else. That wouldn't be great. But I haven't seen any massive complaints about things like that, so hopefully there's multiple ways to go about it. I don't think it's going to be a case where you're going to, on any given save, you're going to be able to be doing everything. I don't think it's going to be that way. So you might have to look for things which have a bit of a synergy. So I'm going to lift the header up here. Drop another load off. So yeah, you're probably going to have to look for ways to get a bit of synergy between the different things that you're doing. Complementary products, you know, animals that produce the pipe out, animals that produce sort of byproducts that are then useful for the additional crops that you're growing, because I know that cows, pigs, chickens, horses, they produce various degrees of slurry, manure and things like that, which can then be used additionally on your crops and things as a replacement for fertiliser. So yeah, just looking for things that go hand in hand. It's glitching out graphically, but it still seems to be filling up. It seems to be taking longer to empty out this time though. The numbers are sort of glitching out a bit. I don't know why that is. Just quickly jump across. Yeah, it's still going up, but it just must be right on the edge. It must be just in a funny spot. You can drive the train, or I mean, you can get the train runs continuously, but you can get it to stop at a station if you want to, and if you need to move, huge quantities of, there's a trailer there for livestock, there's trailers for grains, bales, and if you need to get them from one side of the map to the other, sort of thing, you can use the train for it. So it's always there, it's always available. It definitely seems to be taking longer this time. Pull up a bit closer next time, I think. So it's 4:10 in the afternoon. Are we going to get this job finished before 8 PM? Engines off? Dunno. Need to hustle. Hustle. Come on, baby. Come on. Alright, there we go. Put the pipe back in. Remember to pull up a bit closer next time. So we can see the size of the fields, obviously reduced as we've done the runs around the outside. We might get 2 runs out of a harvester load this time, I believe. We shall see. It'll be close. Drop the head down. So this harvester, New Holland, so the tracks on the front. Pretty big one. I imagine it's just pretty expensive, this one. But I mean, that's a wide header as well. The various equipment you get have different operating widths. So obviously it's going to be more expensive to get the bigger ones, but you're going to have to do less passes to harvest your fields. So obviously you're going to be more efficient to do it that way. This one's 10 km/h working speed. It seems, it must be a lumpy, bumpy bit here. Did the same thing last time round, so I'm just sort of feathering the header up and down to sort of get it to go through there. It's going to miss a couple of tiny, whoops, that's not a tiny bit, that will go backwards. Oops, lift the head, don't go backwards to it. I think that's a no-no. Right, there definitely does seem to be a lump. Let's do it again. Alright, let's throw it now, just on that corner, which is kind of cool. It's another thing to take into consideration. There's not a massive amount of terraforming options in the game at the moment for, knocking down hills or those sorts of things, or levelling fields out nicely. So I think they probably will come in some sort of a mod, but it is good to have to work around sort of a little bit of geometry like that. It makes it a bit more realistic. It's not too much of a problem, just like I say, just feathered the header up and down a little bit to get it through there. Alright, we'll set the cruise control. So yeah, 10 km/h working speed. Obviously the bigger machines probably have a slightly higher working speed as well, again, to improve their efficiency. And if you attach something to a machine which is underpowered, you're going to see the operating speed drop as well in that situation. So all headers, all trailers, all everything come with a kilowatt and a horsepower requirement. And if you start lugging it around with something that's underpowered, your working speed is going to be lowered, and B, the maintenance on the tractor or whatever you're using to pull it is accelerated. So you'll need to pay more in maintenance costs because you are running a smaller tractor, for instance, than what is recommended. So again, that's another pretty cool realism feature, and it's something to consider when it comes time to purchase equipment. What are you going to be doing with it? What equipment does it need to pull? Pulling uphill also affects it. So it's really not a problem in this particular map. The other maps do have fields with pretty decent gradients on them. So again, you're probably going to want to go overs with the horsepower for the equipment that you're pulling, just so that you can move up and down the field. You can sort of harvest across the field to get rid of some of the gradient as well. So that's another thing you can do. One random pink tree there. Not too sure what that's about. I probably can take these corners on the curve, but just do it this way. I'm going to do 2 runs because we're not even a half full in the harvester yet, so I'm just going to do a second run around. As it gets towards the middle, I might even get a 3rd run around. Take that on the curve. I like how it leaves the tyre tracks. That's pretty cool. And that's why, say this field is ready to be harvested. If you ran through, if this was your field with crop destruction on, and you ran through it even with no header or anything on, with a tractor with wide tyres, it would knock the plants down wherever your tyres went, and you would obviously lose yield when it came time to harvest. That's why you can get tractors with the skinny tyres, crop saving tyres, and they're the ones you run through the field. If you need to do any work in the field while it's in a advanced growth stage, and they do no damage to the crops. Alright, when I get around here, I'm probably going to have to feather through here again, am I? Ooh, wide turn. Go biggie, go biggie. Bugger everything. Might be one of those things where you have to get moving in some spots before you put the header down. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire a worker. So H, I'm just going to hire it and then fire it, because they get paid in minutes. So I just want to see what the cost is for just a single minute increment. So H to hire a worker. So now I'm out of control. Dismiss the worker. H. Okay, back. So it lifts the header when you fire the worker, apparently. I suppose that makes sense. You don't want it to carry on doing something that you don't want it to do. Whoops, and turns it off as well, apparently. Stupid worker. Turn on the harvester. So it didn't charge me anything there. Did it? Oh, it might have charged me $2. Hang on. I'll get around here onto another straight and I'll look. I think it might have charged me $2 because the pickup was 45,000 base, $1,000 for the black paint, and $100 for the black rims. So yeah, I think it's charged us $2, but I'll bring up the finance screen and it'll have the rundown of exactly what it's charged us. Why? Stop getting stuck, silly thing. Eating into my productivity. Alright, cruise control on, bring the finances screen up. It's this one here, I believe. $2. Wage payment, $2. So it charges $2 per in-game minute for wages. So that's a good little piece of information to have. I will just chuck that onto the spreadsheet when I get a chance here. So we just have that number in our mind. So basically, if we can put a worker in somewhere and then ourselves go and do another job which is worth more than $2 an in-game minute to us, then we're still in front by putting a worker in. So I'm sure we'll, over time, be able to get some data on what sort of jobs that will be. Because once you have your own fields, obviously you're going to have work that you need to do on your own field, and then a dollar wage payment. That's weird. So it's delayed. It hasn't taken an extra $1 out. It's just saying it cost me $1. Anyway, let's work with $2 an hour for now. $2 a minute, sorry. It's not a bad wage actually. What does that work out to? $120 an hour for a farmhand. I know plenty of people who wouldn't mind $120 an hour. Gonna go and tip this in. Try and get a little bit closer this time so it lines up nicely. Don't hit the truck, don't hit the truck. Damn it, I hit the truck. I do have, I didn't see a setting for it. Don't hit the truck. I didn't see a setting for turning any sort of collision or just nudge the truck. It's just a nudge. That's not a hit. That's just a nudge. Rubbin's racing. Alright, yep, that's unloading much smoother this time round. So clearly it was just on a bit of a glitch area last time where it was probably trying to work out whether it was going in or not or whatever. Unloading much faster. Where's the contract at? 56%. Alright. Put the pipe back in. Unnudge ourselves from the truck. And the field's looking much smaller. I reckon one and a bit more harvester loads, I think. So at this point my money would be on getting it done before the 8 PM cutoff. That's where my money would be. Famous last words, I'm sure, but we'll see how we go. I like the birds, they're cool. Dangerous spot to be nesting though, I would have thought. That one over there on the right's got the right idea. Just go where the harvester's already been. So I feel like I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with the controls. Obviously at 10 kilometers an hour it's not exactly racing away from me, but wide turn. But yeah, I do feel like I'm getting a bit more comfortable with the controls. Yeah, obviously you want to run it as close to the edge as you can so you're making full use of the operating width, but sometimes it's easier said than done. shop over there in the distance. Power lines and palm trees. Some sort of silo cell point over there. Stop it. Oh, nice driving. Left a big spot there. Clean it up next time round. Wonder how much this this harvester is at the shop. When we finish up and we go back to the pickup, we'll just have a look at the cost of the equipment that we used, just for interest's sake, just to sort of see how much it would cost to pick up this sort of setup. And we can look at how much to lease it, but the lease from the shop is a lot more expensive than the lease from these contracts, because you pay, I think, 10% of the purchase price up front on a lease. So yes, it'll be 30 or 40,000 to lease this for a day from the shop, I would have thought. More with the truck, probably 50 or 60,000 to lease it for a day, whereas it charged us 2,000, I believe. So it's definitely cheaper through these contracts, but it'll be interesting just to see what the buy price is. And I guess when we get to a point where we can sort of line up how much profit per acre per crop, then you'll be able to get a bit of a baseline of, all right, if I take the leap and buy this piece of equipment, how many harvests is it going to take before, you know, it's paid itself off and we're in profit, stuff like that. I mean, I understand I'm in the 1% of the 1% who cares about that sort of stuff, but that is what it is. I get the enjoyment out of the challenge. I get the enjoyment out of the realism. I'm hoping to get enjoyment out of recording, although it feels incredibly awkward right now, but I'm hoping that I'll get more comfortable with that over the time. Farming Simulator does have a pretty passionate supporter base, and there are quite a few streamers out there, considering it's a fairly niche game. I think that's fair to say. And they get along quite well with each other. They always try to make sure that they don't stream over the top of each other. So, you know, obviously they have to fit it in with their own schedules, but where possible they try not to stream over the top of each other, which is nice from a community aspect, that they're looking out for each other. I mean, I'm sure streaming is the ultimate goal. I'm going to feather that again, doesn't like this corner either. But I mean, my life is not always conducive to a 3 to 4 hour continuous stretch uninterrupted. So pre-recording, stitching together, I think this day one realism challenge video is going to end up being about 5 or 6 videos stitched together, just because of the way it worked out. But we'll see how it goes. I reckon we might just about fit the rest of this in this harvester pass. I might just start doing straight lines from here. Yeah, we're going to fit it in, no problems. Cool. Now I will get a pop-up, I believe, when I get to 100%. So I'll just put the autopilot on there for a sec. 77. Because it's going to be deliver. Delivering is going to be a part of it as well, isn't it? Interesting. So will you be able to get paid for the extra? Will you, when you tip it in at the sell point, big wide turns, when you tip it in, will it stop at 100? And then if you tip again, will the extra just go into your bank? Maybe, we'll see. Because it's all going to fit in this one load on the truck, so. Wide turn. This is more fun than it probably should be. I don't know why. I make no apologies for it. This is quite therapeutic, actually. You get a nice sense of achievement, seeing a full field and then seeing the progress marks of where you've been through, and then obviously we're about to finish up a field that's quite satisfying, actually. Big turn. It's a little bit of a horizon. You can see the fields, sort of the red dirt sort of scrolling away into the distance. I do have this on high settings. It's what I recommended. I don't know if that's normal or not, but certainly what it's doing. 2 more passes. So it's just about to come up on 6 p.m. in game time. So by the time we get transported, completed off, might be 6:37. So not a bad first day. Not a bad first day in. I had to write this down because I don't think it says it anywhere. Estancia, Lapacho. Day 1. We arrived. Nothing to our name except a measly $500,000. And bought ourselves a pickup. Painted it black. Done a pretty good recce around the area, including some train track driving, which wasn't the highlight of my day. Started to get an idea of what fields we might like. Started to gather some data on. I can lift the header up now. We're done. So now it'll see the speed kicks right up to its max speed. Started to gather some data on, which fields might represent good value. And we've done our first contracting job. Don't hit the truck. Don't hit the truck. Stuck on a pile there. I'm just going to come back a bit because that's going to get stuck on that glitch again, I think. Oh, nudged it. Just a nudge. Just a nudge. Alright, let's put the pipe out. So you can get different heights of trailers. So this one, obviously it's just clearing over this trailer, but if you get the extra high trailer, it's not going to be appropriate for this machine. It won't be able to tip into it. But then you get some things like the sugarcane harvester, which tips very high. So you need a specific trailer for that. So there's a bit of mixing and matching with the gear to get the right gear for the job. Alright, turn it off. Turn it off. Probably should have lowered the header. I still can lower the header. There you go. Just jump here. Run, 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 run. Jump in. So let's just take a few notes here. It was field 13. Just writing this down. I'll put it in the spreadsheet after. Field 13, 12.62 acres. It's barley. It was a 7,000 $659 contract if we had our own equipment. It doesn't actually say how much it's taking off us, but we'll know based on what we end up getting paid anyway. And it has 12.62 acres, has given us 39,104 units of barley. Alright, so start her up, and we're going to close the cover because we don't want to lose our seed at the top. And now let's have a quick look at the map, see where we're going. So from us, we want to go, might as well, no, that's the train track. Don't drive on the train track. That's this train track, don't drive on the train track. So we're going to put it in reverse here, come back out to the dirt tracks, out to the main road, and then down to the south. Alright, I think we can do this. I've got the cruise control set on this, and I need to be careful because if I tip this, if I was to tip this with that load in it, it would go, the load would be destroyed, and I would fail this contract, and I would cry. So we're going to go over this way. I think there should actually be a giant green beam projecting up into the sky because we have a point on the map selected, but we might not be able to see it because we're a bit far away still. So I think we came in over this way. We want to get back out onto that bitumen road. This way. I need to remember wide turns in a truck. Can you tell I don't drive a truck? Wait for the traffic. "19 minutes past 6. Nobody coming, nobody coming. Let's go. There we go. Alright, I want to follow this around down to the south. There is a radio in the car somewhere. I'm not sure where the control for that is. Anyway. I think this is the gas station here. Why does the minimap keep going away? So, oops, stay on your side of the road, please. That's the gas station. Now, you do have to fuel up. This is leased, so obviously we're not going to get anywhere close to using all of our fuel just on this one lease job. But you do need to fuel your vehicles up. That's one more data point that I want to grab before day one finishes here. Once it gets to night time and we can't do any more field work, so after 8 PM, I just want to run the pickup down to both the fuel shop to see how much fuel it used, and to the shop and perform a maintenance on it, just to see how much maintenance it incurred over the course of a day. It's just another data point that I want to collect. I did notice that the value of the pickup truck, I'm going to assume it's up on here. It should be green. Maybe I don't have it selected properly on the map, but I should get a tip command. Alright, there we go. Start overloading oats. I thought it was barley. Did I write that down wrong? It is oats. Don't know why I thought it was barley. So 39,104 units of oats. So we're going to tip it. Bye. See you later. Tip, 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 tip. Now I wonder if it'll stop at 100% complete on the contract. There we go. But it's tipped it all out. Okay, so I've gotten $753 in overages. So that's on top of, because they don't make you harvest 100% of a field, just in case you miss a bit or you make a little error or something. They don't want you, completely failing. They make you get about 90-something% of it. So if you do a good job and do gather 100%, you get a bit extra. So we got $753 in overages. Now we can complete. So obviously, like I said, we can now see that number, $2,043 in lease for a total of $5,617. We don't need any more of this equipment, so I'll just complete it. And I think it takes the equipment off you straight away here. So we'll just see complete. And yep, it's taken the gear back. So let me just check. We started at 2:09 p.m. local time. It's now 3:02 p.m. local time. So for 53 minutes real time work, we made 5,617 plus the 753 overages, $6,370 for 53 minutes work. So about $7,000 an hour for harvesting with leased equipment oats. Interesting. I don't know whether that's a good figure, a bad figure. I don't know how that compares to what you'd be making if you were spending that time on your own farm, doing your own sort of jobs. But we have a number. I will input all that after it gets to 8 p.m. and I can't do any more field work. I will utilise the rest of that time to tinker with my spreadsheet, because I think that's fair use. And then once it gets to midnight, I will stop the video before that. But once it gets to midnight, that'll be sleep time, and because of the rules we're playing by, we need to sleep for 6 hours. So we'll pick up day 2 at 6 a.m. on day 2. We'll have an hour in game before we can go back to the field, so that'll give us a chance to look at the spreadsheet, see what we wanted, see what we've found out, and see what we want to do for day 2, and that'll be good. So I'll just go back to the pickup. So after 8 p.m. in game, I will do the maintenance on that, and I'll have a look at the shop. So what I'm going to do is just have a look at another contract. So I think at the top is the newest ones. So I think they come in, yeah, definitely, because I don't think I have the figures in acreage for these ones either. So let's do something different. We'll do we've done a harvesting job, harvesting, fertilizing, baling. That seemed like it was going to be, there's a lot of equipment involved in that. So let's try a fertilizing job. Let's just take the biggest one we can, get a big payout. And obviously we're not going to get it finished by the end of work time today. 29.87 acres, so over double the size of the field we just did. Paying 17 grand, going to lose basically 5 grand of it for the lease, and we have to buy fertilizer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we need to give it a crack. We need to know, but do we go with the big one or do we go with a small one straight up? Go with the big one. It's going to give the best data. So you can use liquid, solid, slurry or manure. Slurry or manure you can only have if you've got animals that are producing it, so obviously that's not for us. Liquid and solid you can buy from the store, and I have no idea which one's better, although that machine there looks like it's a liquid one. So let's go, let's do it. Obviously, like I said, we're not going to get it finished. 3:06 p.m. local time, start. And then when it gets to 8 p.m. in game, I'll stop that time and we'll add it on at the start of the next day. So I'm going to lease the items. There we go, we're good to go. Field 29. So our gear is over there, but we have no liquid fertilizer. So just going to come over here. I think there is a run button, but I don't know what it is. I probably should find that out. Anyway, I'm going to jump in. Start the engine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that takes liquid fertilizer. It's got a hose and stuff on it, so I'm going to assume it's liquid. I think the solid ones have an open top. It's like an open top trailer, and it just sort of kicks it out. Turn the sprayer on, unfold the sprayer. Alright, so we need to go and buy some liquid fertilizer. Oops, not E. Pallets. Big bags or pallets. I suppose it's a pallet. Fertilizer tank, 2,000 litres. How many are we going to need though? Great question. I don't know the answer. Yeah, so you get other pallets for sugarcane, poplars, like a small plant that you harvest with a special harvester, and they get turned straight into wood chips. Saplings you actually plant and they grow into full-size trees, so they can be sold as actual lumber. So logs, herbicide. I think if you buy them, they stay here, so they don't disappear. But once you use them, they do, but they're not going to disappear if we buy too much. So I'm going to buy 3. Details. I don't want to lease it. Alright, 2,400. Buy. Yes, no, maybe. Buy. Yep. Okay, I'm going to buy. Yes. Okay. Buy. Yes. Okay. Alright. So there goes $7,200. Wham bam. And there they are. So like I say, they'll stay there if I've hugely overbought. So here we go. R to refill the sprayer. I think it was 2,000 litres per. So this is going to drink all of them actually, I think. There we go, yeah. So it's drunk a full one. I think at the end of these you do get reimbursed. So if when you finish the job, you still have some of your, obviously some of your fertilizer left in it, it reimburses you for that before you give the leased equipment back. So that's all right. So we're just going to fill it. Oops, can't reach that one. Goodness, I suck at reversing. Scroll the camera out. Still not close enough. Come on, man. Clock's a ticking. There we go. That was a super attractive way to do it. Alright, so it looks like this might take 6,000 to fill it. So 3 full tanks. Interesting. Okay. Oh, jackknifed it. Okay. Alright, where are we off to? Field 29. Field 29. Alright, so it's basically behind us. So we go out and to the left and then take that dirt track. That's the massive field there. Wow. Alright, check for traffic. Whoa, all of the traffic. Busy road this. So basically we're pretty much just going to get this equipment up there, and then that's going to be the end of the working day, because it's 7:20 now. So we'll just get this up there, we'll spray for as long as we can, get a little bit of it done, and then we'll jump out. That'll be engines off for day 1. Whoa, titchy steering. I do need to mess around with that steering a little bit. Once you get anywhere close to full lock, it just starts squirting you off. I did it in the car as well when I was driving that previously. Alright, so there we are. Glorious big field. Now you can see, because this field's in a growing stage, this tractor's got the skinny tyres on, so it won't damage the crop at all. Obviously, because that's what you want. Stop being terrible at reversing. Man, I am really bad. Alright, unfold the sprayer. X. Oh. Oh, and again. Wow. Wow. Oh, and again. Jesus. Holy moly. So that's going to make that field look quite a bit smaller. Just go like it's nice and straight. Wrong way. There we go. Yeah, oh, sort of. Not really. Sort of. Not really. Sort of. Not really. Well, don't. Train don't come. Train don't come, please. Train don't come, please. Wow, this is huge. So that 29 acres or whatever it is going to seem like a little bit of a walk in the park. Alright, so I'm going to waste a bit of spray here, which is not ideal, but I'll get it lined up. See, it just started to get a little bit darker there. Yes, I know it's reserved for contract work. I'm just spraying the edge. Alright, so we need to spray like 95% of it or something like that, and you will see a slight discoloration in the field to sort of let you know where you've sprayed. That's quite bumpy. So I've just missed a chunk there. Good job. But again, you don't need to do 100%. Wow. Wasting a bit of spray here. You don't need to do 100%, it's like 90 something percent to get the completion on it. 734. And it's gotten, you know, it's definitely gotten a dusk effect to it now. And it's using up the fertilizer reasonably slowly. It's not seems like we should have enough to finish it, but I imagine there's probably not going to be a whole lot left over with this big field. Dusk effect's quite cool actually. Definitely has dimmed off. It does sort of feel like it's the end of the day. There goes, the train's going to go past here, it's got its lights on. It does feel like it's gotten to the end of a long working day. And such is the life of a farmer. Actually, I think, let's put the cruise control on. If we bring up the map quickly, and then change this to fertilise. It's not showing. I thought it would show a strip that was done. Oh, stupid cruise control. Actually, it's not set. That doesn't matter. It's not going to go anywhere near fast enough to worry about. Alright, I'll turn off the sprayer so we don't waste. And to turn around here, I'm going to fold it up as well, just because I don't want to clatter anything. Actually, I think we're just going to call it a day there. Just going to call it a day there. We're only going to get a third of the way up the next run anyway. So it's all folded up. I like how wide that thing is. Alright. It's all folded up. So let's switch the engine off. There we go. And our day is finished. Yeah, it's quite beautiful actually. So that's the end of our working for day one. Day one of the realism challenge. There's just a couple of other things that I'm going to look at the shop, just out of interest sake. So we'll just go back here and jump out. Just want to have a look at how much the shop's got some lighting on. I think it stays open 24 hours. It should. So how much some of the equipment we used was. So we used a semi. It was a Tata Phoenix. A Tatra Phoenix, must be that one. So that's 121,000. So that truck was 121,000. Can you get it in black? Oh yes, you can get it in black. There you go. I mean, and just to lease it would have been $9,000 on its own, whereas we paid $2,000 for all the equipment. So definitely better to do it, the lease off the contract. So we used that. We used a trailer as well, which sort of looked like that red one there actually. Which one? There was that one there, the Crampy. So that was $62,000 just on its own. Can't get that in black. Can't change it. Actually, I think we might have used a bigger one actually, because that one's only 48,000 litres. There's the one we used 59,000. Yeah, that's about what it looked like. So actually it was 78,000. So 200 grand's worth of semi and trailer. And then how much was the harvester? It's going to be a big number, I think. The harvester, it was the New Holland, but it was not that one. New Holland CR1090, there you go. $430,000 to pick up one of those. So you're really going to have to get your farm to a point where, I mean, at some point you will need a harvester, but it's going to have to be at a pretty good point where $430,000 pays for itself. And the header, so we're at about 630,000, and then the header, $4 meters. I don't think it was that one. Yeah, that looks like it was about it. So another 80,000 for that. So yeah, over 700k for that setup. So that's quite a ways down the road. So until it hits midnight in the game here. Oh no, there's one more thing I want to do. I want to run this pickup down to the fuel and the shop for repair, just to see, start the engine, just to see how much, because underneath the speedo you can see it's been operating for 3 hours. So 3 operational hours. I think you can also see it up here. 3 hours, and it's at 99%, which something's off because I clattered that all day basically. It should be broke, but we'll take it. I just want to see how much, so 3 hours costs you in fuel, and how much 3 hours costs you in maintenance. Actually, that's the maintenance right there. Easy done because I'm at the shop. I think you have to park in the bay, you numpty. I don't think it's going to be a very big number. So you have to get out, you have to interact with this point. Open vehicle options, and then repair. Operating hours, 3 hours, yep. $3. So repair on the pickup, $3 for 3 hours. So $1 an hour, so nothing. In other words, but you should keep everything decently repaired anyways. I mean, obviously the repair bill on other pieces of equipment is going to be far, far higher than that. Is there a control for headlights? Toggle radio is 5. If we want to turn the radio on, hazard lights, high beam lights, lights at the front. That's just going to be for machinery though, isn't it? Oh, well, maybe it will be. Left control and F for high beams. Let's just try that. Left control and F. It looks like Parker's to me. Oh well. High beams. There we go. So we're going to go to the fuel station, which is around and to the right. Make sure we put the cruise control on. Alright, cruising down to the servo. The fuel station. Got an hour and a half nearly on this video. It's amazing how fast that's gone. And my kids have been quiet. Yeah, I don't think those lights are on properly. I think that might be high beams in addition to normal lights. So I think we'll need to key map something for the normal lights as well. Moving right along. Doodle-dun, doodle-dun. Pink trees lit up. Start filling. Cost us $2 in fuel. So $2 fuel for 3 hours runtime. Alright. So that's the end of what we wanted to do. I've got no farm, so basically I'm a hobo. So just gonna park over here, and that's where we're gonna sleep for the night. Cozy. Alright, so that's the end. So until midnight game time, I'm just going to do some tinkering with the spreadsheet. We can imagine, you know, working on a laptop or something in the pickup there. I'll turn it off. And then once it gets to midnight, that'll be the end of it for game day 1. So to recap, we landed here, Estancia, Lapacho. We landed, bought ourselves a pickup. We've done a bit of a drive around, we've had a look at some of the fields, we've had a look at the layout. We've started to collate on a spreadsheet here field sizes, because you don't get that straight away, you have to wait until the contract appears. So I'll be jotting down a few more of them for new fields that have appeared. We're trying to break it down to a cost per acre to try and work out where we might like to sort of set ourselves up, and then we did a bit of a drive around of the landscape. It's all pretty flat on this map, so I don't think we're going to have any problems with, you know, fields that are particularly difficult because of hills or anything. And then we did a harvesting contract, so we earned ourselves a little bit of money. So we earned $6,300 for around 1/3 of a full day's work. So just off harvesting jobs like that, it looks like the daily pay, if you want to put it that way, is going to be around $20,000. But we don't know if harvesting's the best sort of job. Don't know if that crop is the best sort of crop. Don't know if that equipment is the best sort of equipment. And we still don't know how, for instance, $20,000 a day stacks up against the return you might get from doing jobs on your own farm. So Tomorrow, I think, day 2 of the realism challenge. I think we're just going to tackle a full day of contracting. We'll finish this fertilising job off, have a look at maybe a baling job. It looked like it was going to be a pain in the butt, but we need to know whether that's going to be worthwhile or not, or whether we can just write that one off, because it was just so much equipment. It was so much equipment for so small pay. It didn't appear to the eye test that it was going to be worthwhile, but who knows. And so I think I'm going to do a full day's contracting, bump that bank balance up a bit more, start to think and investigate more about which field or fields may like to be purchased, and what equipment will be needed sort of to set that up. Definitely going to need a tractor, definitely going to need forks for picking up pallets. That will open up transport jobs though, so that's not the end of the world. So alright, that's the end of day 1.